Hello, 8th grade. Today we are reading The Lady of Shallot by Alfred Lord Tennyson. We're in your literature books. I'm going to start on page 61 and read to you about Alfred Lord Tennyson. Alfred Lord Tennyson, born 1809, died 1892, received an excellent literary education, and as a young boy, he began writing poetry in the various styles of the authors that he read. He was a prolific poet, and his works became popular with his readers, which included Queen Victoria, who appointed him Poet Laureate. That's like the poet for the country. It's a big deal. Tennyson, who wrote prolifically throughout his long life, was the leading English poet of the Victorian age. His works include The Lotos Eaters, Charge of the Light Brigade, Crossing the Bar, and Ideals of a King, a series of poems based on the King Arthur legends. Now flip back to page 58. I'm going to read an introduction. This is not in your book, so just listen. In this tragic medieval ballad, Alfred Lord Tennyson leaves various unanswered questions concerning the Lady of Shallot, questions concerning the origin of the curse, the nature of the curse, and the results of the curse. Such mystery makes this poem an intriguing favorite among his readers. Notice whom Tennyson deems as the protagonist and antagonist throughout the story. Our objectives today are identifying Alfred Lord Tennyson as an author to know, summarizing the poem, defining assonance and consonants, identifying the use of assonance and consonants in the poem, identifying how the Lady of Shallot risked her life, identifying the protagonist and antagonist of the poem, and identifying important lines from the poem. Also think about the theme, the underlying message as you read. At the bottom of page 58, we see two definitions here. Assonance is the repetition of initial vowel sounds, and consonance is the repetition of final consonant sounds. These literary tools add to the rhythm and the movement and the flow of poetry. So without further ado, The Lady of Shallot, Alfred Lord Tennyson. I'm reading the tan box at the top. Tennyson's popular poem tells the story of the Lady of Shallot, a woman who was content with the muted shadow world seen in her mirror until the reflection of the vivid, vigorous Sir Lancelot startles her into viewing the world directly. Part 1. Look for assonance and consonants. On either side the river lie, long fields of barley and rye, that clothe the world and meet the sky, and through the field the road runs by, to many-towered Camelot, and up and down the people go, gazing where the lilies blow, round an island there below, the island of Shallot. Willows whiten, aspens quiver, little breezes dusk and shiver, through the wave that runs forever, by the island in the river, flowing down to Camelot. 4 gray walls and 4 gray towers overlook a space of flowers, and the silent isle embowers the Lady of Shallot. By the margin, willow veiled, side the heavy barges trailed, by slow horses and unhailed, the shallop flitteth silken sailed, skimming down to Camelot. But who hath seen her wave her hand, or at the casement seen her stand, or is she known in all the land, the Lady of Shallot? Only reapers reaping early, in among the bearded barley, hear a song that echoes cheerly from the river winding clearly, down to towered Camelot. And by the moon the reaper weary, piling sheaves in uplands airy, listening whispers 'tis the fairy Lady of Shallot. Page 59, part 2. There she weaves by night and day a magic web with colors gay. She has heard a whisper say, a curse is on her if she stay to look down to Camelot. She knows not what the curse may be, and so she weaveth steadily, and little other care hath she, the Lady of Shallot. And moving through a mirror clear that hangs before her all the year, shadows of the world appear. There she sees the highway near, winding down to Camelot. There the river eddy whirls, and there the surly village churls, and the red cloaks of market girls pass onward from Shallot. Sometimes a troop of damsels glad, an abbot on an ambling pad, sometimes a curly shepherd lad, or long-haired page in crimson clad, goes by to towered Camelot, and sometimes through the mirror blue the knights come riding two and two. She hath no loyal knight and true, the Lady of Shallot. But in her web she still delights, to weave the mirror's magic sights. For often through the silent nights, a funeral with plumes and lights, and music went to Camelot. Or when the moon was overhead, came two young lovers lately wed. I am half sick of shadows, said the Lady of Shallot. Part 3. A bowshot from her bower eaves, he rode between the barley sheaves. The sun came dazzling through the leaves, and flamed upon the brazen greaves of bold Sir Lancelot. A red-crossed knight forever kneeled to a lady in his shield, that sparkled on the yellow field beside remote Shallot. The gemmy bridle glittered free, like to some branch of stars we see, hung in the golden galaxy. The bridle bells rang merrily as he rode down to Camelot, and from his blazoned baldric slung a mighty silver bugle hung, and as he rode his armor rung beside remote Shallot. Page 60. All in the blue unclouded weather, thick jeweled shone the saddle leather, the helmet and the helmet feather burned like one burning flame together as he rode down to Camelot. As often through the purple night, below the starry clusters bright, some bearded meteor trailing light moves over still Shallot. His broad clear brow in sunlight glowed, on burnished hooves his war horse trode, from underneath his helmet flowed his coal-black curls as on he rode down to Camelot. From the bank and from the river he flashed into the crystal mirror. Tira lira by the river, sang Sir Lancelot. She left the web, she left the loom, she made 3 paces through the room. She saw the water lily bloom, she saw the helmet and the plume. She looked down to Camelot. Out flew the web and floated wide, the mirror cracked from side to side. The curse is come upon me, cried the Lady of Shallot. Part 4. In the stormy east wind straining, the pale yellow woods were waning, the broad stream in his banks complaining, heavily the low sky raining, overtowered Camelot. Down she came and found a boat, beneath a willow left afloat, and round about the prow she wrote, the Lady of Shallot. And down the river's dim expanse, like some bold seer in a trance, seeing all his own mischance, with a glassy countenance, did she look to Camelot. And at the closing of the day, she loosed the chain and down she lay. The broad stream bore her far away, the Lady of Shallot. Lying robed in snowy white, that loosely flew to left and right, the leaves upon her falling light, through the noises of the night, she floated down to Camelot. And as the boat head wound along, the willowy hills and fields among, they heard her singing her last song, the Lady of Shallot. The line to know is out flew the web and floated wide, the mirror cracked from side to side. Lord Tennyson intentionally withholds background information and context in this poem, leaving his readers with many questions. Several themes are worth further discussion, those of idealism and isolation. Idealism is a state of viewing the world with preconceived notions without basing those views on reality. The Lady of Shallot was picturing the ideal man and how ideal life must be down in Camelot. She saw Camelot as a utopia, the perfect but imaginary place. If she could only meet that man and live in that place, she imagined that her life would be perfect and happy. But is it wise to make decisions based on idealism? What is an example of how you could be an idealist? What is the danger of idealism? Then we have the themes of isolation. Isolation is a state of separation, whether externally or personally imposed. Just like modern-day isolation in prison, the Lady of Shallot was in isolation, one that was likely externally imposed because of the high penalty she must pay for breaking the rules of the curse, death. Is it wise to allow yourself to become isolated? What are some examples of self-isolation? What is an example of how you could isolate yourself? We'll talk more about these things together. Also, we'll talk about the symbols used in the poem. Think about what the mirror, the cracked mirror, the weaving, and Camelot could represent as symbols in this poem. Now, take out a clean sheet of paper and answer the Think It Through section numbers 1 through 6 on page 61. See you in class.